Yo, what up guys? It's QB here with Chopper Express, and I'm here to bring back another video, and today another teach video. And was reading through some of the comments, and from Jerry Gardner 320 said, hey, why don't we do some vids over specific matchups. And so that's where I am today. Today we're gonna go through a Rayleigh game that I played earlier today. Talk a little bit about how I viewed the matchup. I think it's probably close to like a 50-50. I think if you go first and you line up your curve, it gives you the best position to be able to win, and you're just gonna go through from there. But also just want to start off with a list like we do every day, and like I say, list changes every day. We had a couple of couple events this past weekend, like 4 different regionals. So you saw the outputs, see some of the other teach lists that were doing well. This is pretty close to EPL, and I believe his name's Andrade, I think. Sorry, man, if I mispronounced it or got it wrong, but this is pretty close to the list they played. I really liked it when I checked it out. I liked being able to they included 2 black hole. So the changes that I made from their list is I think they were playing 3 auger. I decided to go to 4 auger. They were playing, I think, 3 Lafitte. I went to 4, and in those places they had 4 Burgess and then 2 black hole, and then their blocker they chose to play, I think, Katarina over Sandman Wolf. I've really been testing it out this past week, and I've really been liking it a lot. I think Finger Pistol helps a lot in your body matchup, which has gotten a lot closer than it used to be, I would say. I think it's still very teach favored, but without Finger Pistol, the matchup just sometimes can get kind of scary sometimes when they're able to like put the blockers up. But we'll have another video about that on a different time. Today I just want to go through Rayleigh. So with the Rayleigh matchup, it is like most teach matchups into aggro, where beginning of the game you are trying to survive, you are trying to guard hits as you can. Preferably you would like to go first due to the fact that your removal starts to line up a little bit better. So ideally I want to open up Lafitte into dot Q to Van Auger, and then Van Auger into teach or into another dot Q, just continue popping their board. With leader ability, going first, I've really shout out to his name is SCTC. He commented saying, hey, why don't we try turning them off from 1? And first off, just want to say, hey man, like, I tried it out and it's been really working out really well, so thanks for that insight, man. And that's what I really like about this channel, just having the ability to communicate with everybody. Like, it's sometimes can be hard to think of ideas by yourself, and once you start, everybody works together, then it's all good for everybody. But so that's what I'm saying. Going first, usually if I do open Lafitte, I go ahead and turn them off, and I try not to play stage in that matchup. It's just like with aggro matchups, you can't afford a lot of the time to play stage just because it's a -1. You need all your hand to be counters, so usually I use it to turn off for leader ability and just use Lafayette, dot Q, and Van Auger to just like control the board for a certain amount of time. So from here, let's go ahead and look into the vid and look at the game. So as we can see, I get to choose, and like I said, I want to go first in this matchup, and this is basically the perfect hand that I could ever ask for. Like, obviously there's a couple cards I want to see within my top like 7 cards that I'm going to get to see, but we start Lafitte, and like I said, open Lafitte. I'm going to go ahead and turn them off. I'm okay pitching stage here. I don't really plan on playing stage within the first couple turns, and usually if you turn them off, for what I've seen so far, is like they'll play like 1/1 drop to contest the Lafitte, so they can still push face if they have one, or they'll play a 2 drop, which is really hard, which can be difficult to deal with. Here I get my first Lafitte. Van Auger is just more important than Shiru, even though I play more Van Auger, so I really want to make sure that on my 3rd turn that I can go dot Q Van Auger, because right now it's either going to be, in my opinion, either a Luffy or it'll be a Sanji, since he decided to forego playing a 1 cost on this turn. And for example, if he had a 1 cost here and I hit the Van Auger, I'm probably not popping the 1 cost, because if he decides his 1 cost will swing on my Lafitte, I'll swing it back with my teach, and then I can go Van Auger, dot Q on whatever the next body he brings out is. And really in this matchup, once you get to like 2 Lafitte on the board, it kind of like, I guess in my opinion, almost like locks him out of playing 1 cost anymore. And so they have to go for this line. So he decides to go ahead and push 6 with Zoro instead of developing. I hit Finger Pistol. And I'm sitting here like, hey, do I want to play Finger Pistol? But I'm lined up for an Auger next turn. So, and I want to, every card kind of matters. So the way I'm looking at this turn is like, no, let's not take the free one. I'll get a swing into the Zoro. That's going to like demand a counter. Usually or he could decide to like not, and then I'll just develop something else like a Sandalwood Wolf or something to that nature. And so I hit the second Shiru. I go in and swing 5. He does have Van Augur, so I'm kind of like, I think he should give me a card here. If he doesn't, like I said, you just go for like Sandalwood Wolf, and then next turn you'll do it anyway. And then, because I got a card, I was able to get a pop. And this is all on rank sim, so I think I'm at like roughly a 2k rating, so I think it's just really good. But this matchup, I do really feel like it's 50-50. I think like your opponents, the Rayleigh deck is like really high skill cap on itself, so like in my opinion, you're playing two decks that are one of the higher skill cap decks in the format. And so I do think player like skills gets to like be shown a lot, and so I really like that about this. So he decides to go ahead and swing 8. I think that's a fine swing. I hit the Lafitte here, but I have the Shiru, so I know that now. I know that he's basically playing a 2 or 3 cost. I have the Shiru for that, and then I hit stage on this turn. So now I'm deciding, hey, I'm gonna go ahead and just get on my stage. I think this is the perfect turn. The game's going kind of slow. I'm pretty healthy, and yeah, the stage will be a -1 in my hand, but I'll basically be able to like continue to like cycle throughout the game. And here I have the choice between basically 7 cost Teacher Lafitte, and I could choose 7 cost Teacher to like finish the game, but like I think if I choose Lafitte, like I get to have more cards as I continue to like play more of the game. Like he's probably gonna trade on my Lafitte this turn, which means next turn if he decides to develop, then I still need to find Van Augur to clear that board. And so I think I decided to take Lafitte here. And then I go ahead and go Shiru plus stage. Just make sure my search is in, because I think I'm gonna be pretty healthy. So I kind of put the Teach at the top. Here I can either choose a 7 cost Teach, and I only play 2, so it's like, do I take this one now, knowing that I won't see it again, or do I take another dot Q? And I think here, actually, I think the correct choice is the dot Q. So I say okay, take another dot Q, basically saying, hey, if you clear my dot Q at any point in the game, I have another one. So I'm gonna go ahead and just pitch the 2K, because I'm getting to the point where like I have full control over the board. I have pretty decent control over the board with dot Q and Lafitte in my hand. That gives me my next turn being Lafitte, look for Van Augur, and then Van Augur dot Q. And that's kind of how I'm thinking about it. And if I have to like pitch one card to go to 0 cards in hand, then it's fine, because I'll have Lafitte plus dot Q on the board, which means I'll be able to just I'll get cards eventually if they decide to trade. But he goes in, summons Zoro, pops my Shiru, and develops. So now I'm like, okay, now I can hit Kuzan or Van Augur to out this Zoro. I decided to take Kuzan because Kuzan, I know I have Shiru and Van Augur in my trash, so Kuzan will refill itself, and then I'll be able to just continue progressing the game. So this is kind of like a sequencing thing. I'm trying to think right now, like, do I swing 5? Do I swing 6? Do I pop my Kuzan first and kind of show like, hey, like I'm gonna pop it anyway? Do I search first? And like there's a lot of things going through my head. I think realistically there's no difference really between swinging 5 and 6 actually, because either way most things demand a 2K, and if he pitches any 1K, that's another minion, that's another character that's in his hand that's gone away. So like he's basically just depleting himself of characters, which is kind of where you want to get the Rayleigh deck to as we're turning them off, because if we can just out a lot of the characters, then eventually it's just events and it's just 0 cost, and them just trying to beat you in the face. But since you'll have the board, it'll be pretty hard for them. So I go ahead and just decide to activate my era, see if I hit what I hit off of that. And that's what I'm saying. I think I ended up throwing a 6, and I should have just thrown a 5, just because of what I said. If I threw a 5, it doesn't really matter if you count it. I just want the card, to be honest. Doesn't matter if it's a 1K or 2K. And then this also gives me an opportunity that if my Kuzan, between my Kuzan draw and my stage, that if I hit my area, then I can like cycle for another 3 cards, which is just getting deeper into my deck, so I can get back to the 10 cost teaches that I threw away at the other aspects in. I hit my area, and this is just like, it's not bad. It's not like it's gonna like dictate the game or anything like that, but it is like one more card that I can like cycle through. So I end up cycling it out, and I go ahead and throw away a dot Q because I already have one on board. He's already shown that he's not really committed to trading into it at all, and so he decides to play observation hockey. And he's kind of pretty low on cards, and I think that's kind of like how you play the matchup. You just kind of like slowly take all their characters away. And unfortunately for him, he so far hasn't seen a 3-cost Sanji to continue to refill his hand, or keep maintain his hand, or the 2-cost Sanji to like try and speed the game up. But he goes ahead and tries to trade him an Augur, and I guess his thought process is if he can just like stick a board, then like he'll be able to get enough swings to probably actually pressure me and like put me in like a lethal position. But I think with Lafitte up, it becomes pretty easy for me to find either Kuzan or Van Augur to pretty much deal with this whole board. So I end up finding Kuzan, and I have True Finger Pistol for turn, so now I have an out for both bodies, and I have 10 cost each to deal with that too. So I'm thinking should I just go Shiru, but I think getting Van Augur is just like super important because it keeps me ahead on like cards. So even if he decides to out it, then I'll just continue to just draw more cards so I don't lose out on any cards. So this game started out where I'm turning him off every single turn, but through Q and Van Augur and him trading into those, then I've been able to now have essentially more cards than he has, because he's played he's played 2 rushers and like a searcher, and so he's just been able to lose cards. So I'm just taking the game super slow. I have 3 lives. He's played 2 Zoros. They only play like really 4 rushers, so I know worst case there's 2 rushers coming through, and I just need to like control the board. And from his perspective, it's kind of like eventually he just has to try and race me to the end of the game, which I think if that happens, I feel pretty confident that I can like kill him within those couple turns. So for here, you'd have to have like rusher and then push both rushers space for large numbers. If he does that, then I'll just end up giving him enough to stay at 2 life, which should give me 2 extra turns because I'll clear the rusher. He goes to go for Van Augur again, and he decides to develop the Brook. And then I draw my teaches. So I know basically right now I can either look for more teaches, but I also know I'm back to the bottom of my deck now. So here's where I go for Kuzan again, just to continue the cycle, continue to maintain card advantage. And I become a little bit of a decision where like, do I go ahead and just establish the 7-cost teach now and just push 7 and deal with probably not getting a life this turn, but now that I have 7-cost teach, I'll have a body that swings really well into Conqueror's Hockey? Or do I develop Van Augur now so that I can continue to just like stay healthy on cards? I think the correct answer is to play the 7-cost teach and just push the 7. I think for the reason I stated earlier, that like if you play 7-cost teach, now you have 2 swings to deal with Conquerors, so you can go like press 5, press 8, and then that's still like a decent amount of cards. Or I can do what I'm doing right now, which is basically just push him to 1 life and then say that over the course of 2 turns that I'll kill him. But I also have like 2 10-cost teach, so if I'm able just to like stay healthy, then I can just go like 10-cost teach, 10-cost teach. And like I said, this is like the perfect hand for me on my side. I think my Rayleigh opponent didn't draw as good as the deck normally draws. I think ideally he would have his 1 drop, 1 curve, and the game would go slightly differently in that sense. But I think this is kind of like from the teach perspective how you want to play the matchups. Like you just want to slowly build your board, slowly take care of the minions, and I think turning them off from turn 1 has been really, really good. And once you're able to like get to this point in the game, like I'll always be up on the board. And now I decided to give him 2 cards because I know that I'm basically pretty healthy, and he essentially looks like he's ran out of minions. He's to the point at that point in the game. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and decide to solidify the game. I'm going to go ahead and press 5 first because I'm planning on playing my 10-cost teach. So I'm going to go ahead and just press the 5 to play around Conquerors. So now if he plays Conquerors, then my Van Augur also going to press 5 into his face. So now I'm just going to get 2 cards. And then I'm going to play 10-cost teach. And then from there, cycle once to find anything, and then go ahead and discard full leg because I don't need it anymore. And now basically I'm threatening lethal, and then that's the game. And then just to give a little insight, I think a little bit of the curve is kind of similar if you go second. I think the cards you want to look for are still the same, where it's Lafayette, Q, Shiru is really important because that gives you a trade onto their board on turn 2. And in that match, I think in that state you also you'll get an extra card, but they'll get probably 2 extra swings on their second turn. But if they go Sanji, then you'll be able to go like Shiru Pop trade and then kind of try and win the board from there. So in that same scenario, I think you're still looking for their important cards, which are Doku, Luffy, Van Augur, Shiru, as we do in most of the aggro matchups. And you just want to like try and control them as much as possible and try not to just die too fast. There are times where the Rayleigh deck can draw really well, and if they're able to stick the board, then you will just get pushed down to 2 life, and next you know that turns on their Kid Killers, and now Kid Killers swinging 7. It's just really hard. The game can progress really fast, and so I think, and like I said, in my mind, I think this matchup is really close. I think almost to the point where I feel like it's player versus player. I think both decks are very, very consistent. I think die roll can lead to the Teach deck being like slightly favored, but I've also played games so far where I missed Doku on 2, and then they're allowed to like stick more bodies. But I think this strategy has been very helpful. I appreciate all the comments and likes, and I appreciate all the support that I've had over these last 3 videos. And we only got 1 game today, but I'll be looking to continue to put out videos in terms of matchups. Hopefully they help going into the events. Like I said, I'm on a once a week timeline, but hey man, I appreciate everybody, appreciate all the comments, appreciate all the advice when it comes to playing and learning matchups, and feel free to continue to ask questions. But hey, we're out for now. Peace.